Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy, my channel's Finding Value, and we're looking at investment opportunities. And if investment opportunities excites you or financial education, click subscribe. Today I'm going over gold and silver and technical analysis. And technical analysis tells us where buyers and sellers are at. We're looking for patterns. We're looking for chart pattern breaks. We're looking for launching pads or a base to jump from. It's very rare to see very large moves not come from a base or an accumulation period. What you want to see is you want to see something that's fallen for a little while and created a massive pattern or basing pattern to launch from. And in gold and silver, we've come off the bottoms of that pad, launching pad, so to speak, in 2016, 2017, 2018. We're moving on up and we're just kind of relaxing in some of these areas. And that's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at the big long-term chart perspectives for gold and silver. I'm going to look at some of these, other items that affect gold and silver, like yields and dollar and stuff like that on a short-term basis. And we'll go through it. So let's jump into gold and silver, doing technical analysis here. I think gold's looking pretty good. I'll show you why. Gold kicking into gear irrespective of the 10-year yield. It's showing strength in relationship to the 10-year yield. I do know that the dollar went down today. Let's look at the long-term picture of these companies. Keep the eyes focused on where price is headed and not what it is doing this second. Look at the big picture, and that's how I view these investments: is big picture, big moves, get the market conditions right, and just hold on. Again, this is only financial education. This is not advice. I can't give advice. I'm not licensed to, but you guys can see what I think, what I'm doing, and I can state that perfectly fine. So do your own due diligence. Do what's best for you financially. So here's the 10-year U.S. Treasury yield. I drew the line in, contacting all these points in here as best I can. You could even move it down a little bit. We broke down and we came back up, and this could go sideways or down a little bit. What that does is the market perceives lower U.S. 10-year Treasury yields and links it to gold straight out. Like it says, a little bit lower, we'll move it higher. Now, it is a loose correlation. It isn't a hard correlation. It isn't like every time it goes down or up that it will 100% be a fact that gold moves up. Now, if you see large movements, that's when you really see the tie. Today, we had, it ended a little bit lower than this. If it's only a point something percent move, that's perceived as a sideways movement, and gold can go either way. But if it's a big down day like this day here, you're probably going to see a down move. An up move, sorry. Down move in yields, up move in gold. So the bigger the move, whether it's up or down, more than likely, it's going to have a larger impact on what gold does. And here's the U.S. dollar index. It was down today, a good amount too. And the dollar does have a loose tie to gold. It's not 100% correlated. These things aren't 100% correlated. They're statistically correlated. So if you see a large move in the dollar down, gold will protect you against that inflation. And here's gold. I'm charting it out. This is a big picture view of it. This is the last bull market coming on up. This is where we lost the housing market. It was in here. We had the crash, and then it just kept going. For one last big move higher, we created this cup pattern and then the handle. We're coming on up, and we're trying to break through this area. There's some resistance there from back in 2011. Be patient. Be patient here. Gold and silver is still game on. We have very good market conditions. We just have some resistance that's sticking through the sellers back here. So patience. Here's silver, the price of silver itself. I drew two major kind of resistance lines through here. This one was the resistance all through here. I'm trying to tie it back. There's all these buyers and sellers through this area all through here. So we have to get through this area where there's a lot of buyers and sellers to get through and break through this area. So we broke through this first area. You can see we kind of came up and just blew right through it. We consolidated. We're like, man, we're tired. Too many sellers up here. And it's starting to make its way back up to break through this 2850, 29 area that's real sticky in here. And then it's going to eventually get through this area, I think, and move on quite substantially. So let's look at some of the companies and ETFs and stuff like that. Well, I got platinum up here too. You can draw the downtrend line for platinum. We broke through this. COVID didn't do anything. That was just a small little event. Came right back, hit its head, and broke through. And now we're kind of resting up here. And even if we pull back a little bit, it's going to eventually move on higher. That's my take. So don't be afraid here. Be brave. If this comes back, I'm probably going to buy more physical. Literally, more physical. Here's the Van Eck Gold Miners ETF. You can see the big downtrend line that I drew in here, kind of hit it, and we're going to come up and try to test and break through this pattern right there. Here's the Gold Miners ETF GDXJ. I think this thing looks fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Draw this line across. We hit our head there. We came up. Too many sellers came back. We've seen this all over the place. And then we're coming back up through it. And eventually, when we get out of this sticky area of the buyers and the sellers, the seller overhang, so to speak, and then we're going to move higher, I think, quite a bit. But patience here. It's not going to be overnight. The silver miners or ETF SILJ, again, it's doing the same thing. We're coming on up, hit our head. We might go sideways, we may break through it. Be patient here. You will be rewarded with time. Now, I've got some of these short-term charts. Here's EXK. Not much to say here. We did break out of this little resistance line here, coming up, pulling back, moving around on the short term. Long term, draw the trend line across. We broke through it, and now it's just a matter of time. You can accumulate there if you want. It's whatever you want, but be patient. Let this stuff make you money. Here's Mag Silver. You can see that we're flirting with these highs up here. We're getting up there. It's looking pretty good on a short-term basis. On a long-term, it looks really good. We broke through this big long-term pattern here. We've got this kind of megaphone pattern going on where it's going bigger and bigger and bigger. We may reach this megaphone. Maybe we break up to the upside and run. And maybe we zigzag up like this. I don't know what it's going to look like, but we broke to the upside. Everything's good. And I own it. Wheat and precious metals. On the short term, you draw this trend line across. We broke through that. So we broke through the resistance. It looks good. On a big long-term perspective, we've got some more resistance from back here. We break through that. I think it's going to look pretty good. You just hold on. Let it make you money. Franco-Nevada, draw the trend line in. This thing looks absolutely stellar for a long-term hold here. It's like higher lows everywhere. There's no such, outside of this one right here, but it keeps trucking higher, broke through this trend line, shot higher, and then we did a pullback to the trend line, and we're moving pretty good. Here's a Cisco Gold Royalties. Here's the trend line. We just freshly broke it. And what do we usually see here? We usually see like a retest, back test, or kind of rolls over for a little bit. If it rolls over, I'm probably going to buy some here. I'll add some. Here's Discovery Silver. We've got this trend line here, or the pattern, I should say. We've got a pattern that's squeezing up. Flirting with a breakout right now. So that one looks good. Aftermath Silver, draw the trend line over. This is Peru. Remember, we've got someone who might be elected. But if they're not elected and maybe the sentiment changes, we could see this turn right back up. And if you're looking at it from a really long-term perspective, maybe Aftermath Silver will do very well from a very long term, 10, 20 years, because politicians change. We've got Royal Gold here. We've got a nice, basically an expanding wedge here. And it's going up. We fell out of it, came right back in it, and it's been looking pretty good, moving up in this big expanding trend line pattern. So it looks pretty good. Here's Mavericks Metals. I think somebody mentioned this, the royalty company trend line, and this thing is strong like bull. It just keeps moving higher and higher and higher. Looks great. Sandstorm Gold on a long-term perspective. Draw the trend line in. Looks like a cup and handle pattern that's forming here. And remember, you got to be patient here. This isn't going to happen overnight. but this looks fantastic for a nice cup and handle pattern. It's probably going to hit its head on this and sit there for a little bit and then break through eventually. Here's EMX royalty. Drawing the line across, broke through. You can see this nice big surge higher, and they like to pause up here a little bit before moving on. So that one looks good too. There's not much resistance up there. It already broke out. I like buying them at those areas, and don't be afraid that it's close to a 52-week high, or it is a 52-week high almost. So I don't get afraid. I just hold on because I see the launching pad that it can launch from. Here's Ely Gold. This one broke out of its pattern here. You can draw another one kind of across through here, broke up, came back. They go sideways, they get tired, and then you can see a big move higher if you're patient. And then we've got Teuton Resources. You can see the downtrend break. Then we've got another basing pattern break. And when it broke, it took off. Now we're kind of coming back. It's resting a little bit, and we'll see what happens. I think there's more to this big move to come. And you could almost say that this, yeah, it's just in a resting period right now. So that's gold and silver. That's what I have. The patterns are there. It's just patience. Is gold and silver going to wear you out, or are you going to be patient, accumulate it, and sit in it and say, market conditions are right for this? Eventually, we're going to see a big move. That's the way I view it. So let me know if you agree or disagree. Put it in the comments section. Love to hear what you guys have to say. So throw it down there if you think we're going to move higher, if we're going to pull back, or if you think there's going to be more grinding. Thanks for listening. This is Finding Value.